How hard is it to get a Democrat of 30 years and just switch him over to a Republican?
This is a man of integrity, a man who for 24 years has run this office very professionally. It's not a matter of partisan politics. This is a matter of having the right man in a very important job, being the district attorney of Kings County. That's what it's about. His opponent here has proven to have corrupt people working for him, and he won't admit it, even though the corrupt people have admitted they're working for him, and Ken Thompson is not willing to admit. That means he doesn't have the integrity you need for this office right there.
And what about the accusation?
That's what campaign's about. This campaign has proven that Ken Thompson does not deserve to be the district attorney of Kings County.
And what about the accusations being leveled against Charles Hines for the way he dealt in many cases, some within the African American community, some within the Jewish community, and accusations of people going to jail for 20 years who didn't belong there to begin with?
This is Kings County. People have a lot of different opinions. And when you're putting people in jail, people will disagree with what you've done. But Hines has always done it with intelligence, professionalism, and integrity, and that's what's needed in the office.
Okay, now specifically in the case with Ranta, are you familiar with that case?
I'm not familiar with the case.
Okay, but
I'm familiar with his reputation. I'm a lawyer. I've worked a lot with litigators. I served briefly in the Southern District. I know what it means to have a man of integrity and honesty as the district attorney here in Kings County.
But do you think
this is very important? It's one of the largest district attorney offices in the country. Not only have people from Brooklyn, I've campaigned all around the United States. People say, "Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn. I don't care where you are." Everyone comes from Brooklyn, or their father or their grandfather came from Brooklyn. Well, the ideas that Joe Hines has developed here in the DA's office has spread across the country. He's been not just a good DA, but a very progressive DA who's done things in the right way. And he's done them on a nonpartisan basis, and that's why he's supported by the Republican Party.
Now, do you know why it took him 3 weeks to decide?
Sure. Look, he thought he had been beaten fair and square, et cetera, and that Ken Thompson would be fine. But then he found out that crooks had been running his campaign. People, felons, that he, Joe Hines, had put in jail were behind Ken Thompson's campaign. Actually, they admitted they were behind his campaign, and then Ken Thompson won't admit it. That means he doesn't have integrity. That's what campaigns test people. Ken Thompson's been tested. It's proven to be wanting, and that's why Joe Hines got back in the race, because we need integrity in the job of district attorney here in Brooklyn.
Does the current mayoral race remind you of Dinkins versus Giuliani?
No, completely different era, but I think that the philosophy of Bill de Blasio really comes out of the Dinkins era. He really hasn't given up, or he was a volunteer in that campaign, and he was a political advisor to that administration, and that was an era of crime and grime. I think some things were instigated back there, such as community policing, that started bringing us out of that, but that was an era of crime and grime. And he still believes in the philosophy that would take us back to that era. I mean, the NYPD has done a superb job. Everyone knows that. But the liberal judges here, Shylin has piled on. And he says, and de Blasio says, he would not appeal that opinion. How can he not appeal opinion and get a correct decision so that the Constitution is properly interpreted here in New York City? He wants to interrupt the proper processes of law.
Does it concern you?
Absolutely wrong.
Does it concern you that de Blasio was political advisor to Mayor Dinkins while we had major riots going on?
I'm not going to. Different era. I'm not going to pin that on Bill de Blasio, but I will say that he is going to make this city poorer by his philosophy. And he will stick with what he has shown since he won the Democratic primary by being the farthest left candidate, the most anti-police candidate the most leveler candidate just for equality of outcomes rather than equality of opportunities, that he will put the city at risk by instigating his policies here, which he sincerely believes in.
Now, Loda is behind in the polls. Now, do you believe the polls are correct, or you believe this is more of like a George Pataki, where they said he was behind 60% and ended up winning?
A lot of name recognition. People will make up their minds in the week before the election, and I think once Joe Loda's message gets out, he's going to find his support really taken off. And you're finding that de Blasio has just taken his election for granted. He may get a big surprise on November 5th.